Sunday Night Football. Objectively, the best primetime football every year of the NFL season. It doesn't get any better than the NBC broadcasts. These are my Sunday Night Football rankings for my interest in each game and also my predictions for each matchup. Gronk, spike the like button and let me know your favorite game on Sunday night this season in the comment section below. Let's kick it off with the 18th best matchup on Sunday night this year. That is the Minnesota Vikings and the Denver Broncos, Week 11. This is just a completely random matchup that doesn't make a lot of sense. Russell Wilson and the Broncos hosting Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. It sounds like a lot of mid to me. Quite honestly, the Vikings, I don't think are going to be as good as last year. I will say that Justin Jefferson versus Pat Surtain is a pretty interesting matchup. I will say that. But I don't see either of these teams really being the most interesting. I'm going to go with the Broncos here. They're at home. It's Mile High. It's a difficult place to play, a weird environment given the altitude. I'll take Denver. I think their defense shows up, gives primetime Cousins, some difficulties in Week 11. The 17th best Sunday Night Football matchup is the Chicago Bears versus the LA Chargers, Week 8, right in the middle of the season. I like Justin Herbert here. Not a lot has to be said. I feel like Khalil Mack could have a revenge game, but this offense for the Chargers, I just think will have their way with the Bears defense. I don't see the Bears defense being drastically better than last year. Their pass rush really still needs a lot of work. Their secondary is very young. I see Herbert having a big day in this game at home. The 16th best matchup on Sunday Night Football is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Green Bay Packers. That is week number 13. I get the proximity matchup from that standpoint, but the Green Bay Packers would have been a lot more interesting to face the Chiefs on Sunday night a few years ago. There's no more Aaron Rodgers. This is Jordan Love later in the year where that luster of Jordan Love has worn off. And the Packers are just not on the Chiefs level. Despite this being, in Lambeau, which is pretty cool, the coolest venue in the NFL versus the best player in the NFL. That is, I guess, a storyline. But I just feel like the Chiefs are so much better than the Packers. And they're used to a cold environment as well. So there's no real advantage for the Packers in this game. At number 15, the New York Jets versus the Las Vegas Raiders. This is week number 10. This game is interesting to me because it's Aaron Rodgers versus Davante Adams. And a lot of people thought that Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams had kind of a weird separation. And Adams chose Derek Carr. Everyone forgets about that over Aaron Rodgers, apparently. And then also, Aaron Rodgers didn't go to the Raiders. He could have went to the Raiders, maybe. There was at least that thought. So this is a big game. I like the Jets, though. I think they're the better team. I mean, I could go with the Raiders in Las Vegas on a primetime game. That's definitely a tough place to play there. I think really underrated. And this is going to be fun because it's a really good offense versus a really talented defense. I will say that McDaniels has had a good handle on this Saleh Seattle type of scheme. So if the Raiders do put up points, I wouldn't be surprised. But I just feel like the Jets have more ways to win. I'm not confident enough in the Raiders defense to win this game. At number 14, the Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings. This is week 17. I have the Packers in this one, despite being late in the year, a little bit higher, which is maybe tricky and maybe counterproductive. But it's the Packers and the Vikings. And I think no matter what, no matter how good either of these teams are, this will still be an exciting game. There's a rivalry to it. There's an edginess to it. There's a hatred to it that gets you going. So I think it's going to be good no matter what. I'll take the Vikings at home to beat the Packers in week 17. My 13th best Sunday Night Football game is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Las Vegas Raiders. I might actually be attending this game. There are thoughts about that potentially, and I'd definitely be cheering for the Raiders. But the Steelers are on the road here, and this is a great 70s clash between the Raiders and the Steel Curtain. I'm going to take the Raiders in this game. I understand the Steelers defense is pretty good, and they can slow down the Raiders, but I think the Raiders want revenge from that weird game last year where they were up in the game and then they kind of threw it away. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo plays better than Derek Carr. This is also in Las Vegas instead of in Pittsburgh. And I don't think the Steelers offense is going to be super dynamic to the point where the Raiders defense won't have any answers. I think Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, and Tyree Wilson will give the Steelers offensive line a lot of issues. So I'm going to take the Raiders at home early in this year to maybe shockingly, but win this game at home. Then we got the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. This is week 1 Sunday Night Football. It's great. Just week 1's always great. It's fun. It's dun, 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 dun. You get that theme song back stuck in your head for the rest of the year. And this is a throwback to Tony Romo, Eli Manning, or for some people, the Troy Aikman, LT type of early 90s days. But I like the Cowboys, even though it's in New York. I just felt like last year they kind of dominated the Giants. The Giants stuck around in a couple of the games and made it interesting, but I felt like the Cowboys were just the better team, more talented team. I think they are again, and I think the definitive advantage is the Cowboys pass rush versus the Giants offensive line. I think I'm probably going to end up ranking the Cowboys as my top defense entering the year. I just love how they're built, and I like the scheme. And I feel like it's going to be really difficult for Daniel Jones and the Giants to move the football in this game. That's how I feel. So week number 1, I got the Cowboys. Number 11, the Miami Dolphins, the Philadelphia Eagles. Week 7, this is not a rivalry game. It's a really weird matchup. Dolphins and the Eagles. It's going to be a really funky color matchup with the jerseys. But I think I got to take the Eagles. I think they're just better up front. Would I be shocked if Miami won this game? No, they've got a lot of talent, especially on the perimeter of both teams. They're better on the perimeter in terms of both teams. But I just feel like the offensive and defensive lines, the Eagles win this game, period. I just think that's where Miami is weakest. So week 7, especially in Philadelphia, tough environment to Tua to walk into. This could be a potential Tua watch out for a concussion game. But week 7, I got the Eagles. The New York Giants and the Buffalo Bills. And one of the more interesting matchups of the year from a coaching standpoint, you got Brian Daboll returning to Buffalo to take on Sean McDermott and the Bills. I think this is going to be an upset. I got the New York Giants. I'm calling the upset here. I think the Brian Daboll Giants are very pumped up for this game. I think he has all the answers for the Bills' defensive scheme. I think he knows the ins and the outs of Josh Allen and that offense. Wink Martindale has also done a fabulous job in the past at defending Josh Allen, being aggressive, blitzing him. I think that the Giants are going to win this game. I just have a feeling about it. The number 9 game on Sunday Night Football, the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots, week number 2. A lot of people will say that Tua owns the Patriots despite throwing like 180 yards per game. That's fine, whatever. This game is not in Miami. It's in New England. Therefore, I'm going to take the Patriots. I think they win this game. I think their defense is built to slow down the Miami attack with all their smaller, shiftier cornerbacks with speed and quickness. Now you add Christian Gonzalez to that mix. They've got a really good pass rush to disrupt Tua. And then offensively, I think they've got professionalism now. They can attack Miami. They can have answers for their blitzes. They can do some things offensively that they weren't able to do last year. I think Miami struggles in this game, and I think New England wins. Then we've got the Detroit Lions versus the Kansas City Chiefs on the kickoff game. That is my number 8 ranked Sunday Night Football game. I just see the Chiefs pulling away. I feel like the Lions will keep this one interesting. I think it could be a little bit of a back and forth for the first half, maybe into the third quarter. But eventually the Chiefs are just going to prove to be supreme, a better team, a more refined team, just in terms of what they're good at. They know what they're good at. They know their money plays. They know what they want to do. I think the Chiefs are going to be able to go to those things. I think Detroit is still going to have to tweak with some things defensively. They're going to have a tough time adjusting to what Andy Reid prepared for the entire summer. So I think the Chiefs are going to win this game in a high-scoring affair. Then we've got at number 7, Week 16, Josh Allen versus Justin Herbert, Bills versus Chargers in LA. I actually kind of like the Chargers if they're healthy. Obviously, we don't know that. So as of right now, I'm going to take the Chargers. I think the Chargers don't have their weaknesses come up as much in this game. Their offensive line should be fine protecting Herbert in this game. And I think their run defense won't really be exposed against a Bills team that's not very good at running the ball. This is also an East Coast team going West Coast late in the year in a warm environment, which might throw off the Bills a little bit. but I just like how the Chargers are going to be able to rush the passer against Josh Allen, get some pressure. I think they also have a talented enough secondary. This is the type of matchup that the Chargers were built to win. At number 6, the Baltimore Ravens versus the Jacksonville Jags in Week 12. I'm going to go with the Ravens to get revenge on the Jags here. I could change my mind on this one, but that's my first inclination. Last year, the Ravens kind of blew that game. This year, I think they get back on track. I think the Ravens are just a better defensive team. I have questions about Jacksonville defensively, and I think the Ravens finally have the weaponry to expose Jacksonville's secondary weaknesses. And I don't know, man. I feel like Lamar's going to make some big plays in Florida. At number 5, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New York Jets, week number 4. This one, man, I really want to pick the Jets. Like, this is the type of game where I really like the Jets. The Jets have a ton of tough games. They're going to have to win some of these. My first thought is pick the Jets, just because their defense. But then at the same time, I feel like the Jets, their scheme is very simplistic. So I feel like Andy Reid and Spagnuolo could outcoach the Jets. So I kind of have some issues here. Because I think from a talent standpoint, the Jets could very well win this game, especially at home. It's not an Arrowhead, which is a big advantage. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I don't trust the Jets coaching staff. That's what it comes down to for me. And maybe still in the first month of the year, the Jets are trying to kind of figure out some things offensively. So I'll take Kansas City. Number 4, the 49ers and the Seahawks, Thanksgiving football Sunday night. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. I like the Niners a lot this year, but this game is in Seattle. There could be some rain involved by this time of the year. I think it's in November, right? So I know I live in Vancouver, so we're very close in proximity. The rain is very frequent. I think Seattle wins this game. NFC West rivalry. Pete Carroll, Shanahan have been pretty split over the years, and I think Seattle's level of play and their talent level has risen a lot. Then you've got the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys in Week 14. This game's in Dallas. I'll have these teams splitting throughout the season, but I'm going to take Dallas to win this one in Week 14. I like the team at home, and I feel like Dallas has just about as good of personnel on both sides of the ball to attack Philadelphia's weaknesses as any team in the NFL. They have a good enough offensive line to be able to block the Eagles. The only issue would be if Tyron Smith or Martin by this point have worn down. Then you also have a really good pass rush to get after an offensive line that is talented. And you've got now a secondary that can actually cover the Philadelphia receivers. I think they've got a deeper, better secondary this year than last year. And then Dak Prescott has more weapons, right? So I think the Cowboys will win this game. At number 2, the Dallas Cowboys versus the San Francisco 49ers in Week 5. I'm going to take Dallas for now. The reason is I don't know who's playing quarterback for San Francisco. I'll change my opinion. If Brock Purdy's the quarterback, I'll take the Niners at home. But if it's not, I'm going to take Dallas. So this one, I might change my mind. But for now, I'm going to take Dallas if it's like Sam Darnold. Again, I could change my mind. But I think Dallas has improved in a multitude of areas. They've improved their defensive line. They've improved their secondary. They've improved their receiving core. And I think, yeah, the Niners' defensive line's improved, but I think there's enough there to say when you look at that playoff game last year, it was extremely competitive, extremely close. Dan Quinn knows Shanahan really well, and this defensive front is very fast, and it matches up well with what San Francisco likes to do in the running game. So I like Dallas here, maybe by surprise. And then the number 1 game is the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. The reason it's the number 1 game in week number 9, Damar Hamlin's storyline. You also have the storyline of the Bills got destroyed by the Bengals. They'll look for revenge in this game. And of course, it's Josh Allen versus Joseph Burrow. At home, I'll take the Bengals. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bills win this game. If Von Miller's healthy for this game, that will definitely help. But I think the Bengals offensive line has built something pretty nice there. And I think their defense had a really good understanding of how to get after Josh Allen and play that tricky in-between game of being aggressive, but also conservative enough to not give up big plays. So I like the Bengals to win this game at home. And that is the Sunday Night Football rankings for 2023. My rankings and predictions for each game. Again, guys, the predictions could go back and forth for some of them. It's just my first inclination, my first thought. Let me know your first thought in the comment section below. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed, Gronk spike the like button, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.